So Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, or I guess they are called the Secretary of War now. I wonder why they changed the name. Is it because they know that we're getting ready to go to war? Who knows? But anyways, Pete Hegseth has just called for a mysterious emergency meeting for all of our top military officials around the world. He is making all of our top military officials from every corner of the world fly back to America and all have this big meeting at this military base in Virginia. He says that he wants it to be an eye-to-eye meeting. He didn't want it to be over the phone, didn't want it to be over video chat. Obviously, it must be important. Maybe it's top secret. I don't know. But all of these military officials are now scrambling to get back to America for this meeting that I believe is on Tuesday. Now, I want to make myself clear before I go forward. In today's day and age, with all the threats that we're dealing with all of the crazy stuff that's going on in the world, I think it's a good idea that all of our military officials come together and create some plans, create some strategies to all be on the same page. I think that's a good idea. But I'm also not gullible enough to think that there's nothing to this, because the White House is trying to downplay this meeting like it's nothing. But this is the first time in American history that we've ever had some sort of big meeting like this with our military officials. We didn't even do this during World War II, World War I, Vietnam. You could name any military conflict that we've been in. Never have we had this emergency meeting where every top military official has to be there. They're leaving their outposts, they're leaving other countries, they're all coming to America for the first time in American history. So, I'm not someone who's freaking out, acting like this is so bad. How dare Pete Hegseth call for this meeting? But at the same time, I'm also not dumb enough to believe that this is all for nothing. It's obviously for something. What that something could be, there's so many possibilities. Because like I said, the world is so crazy right now. We're looking at the possibility of, hey, maybe they're having this meeting because of the conflicts that are going on with China. Maybe China's getting ready to invade Taiwan, and Pete Hegseth wants all of his military officials to come together to create a strategy for that conflict. Maybe it has something to do with all of the drug smuggling boats that we've been blowing up. I know that tensions are high with Venezuela. I think it's very unlikely that that is what this meeting is about, but that is something that is happening in the world. I think what's most likely is that this has something to do with Russia. Just when I thought that maybe the war between Russia and Ukraine would be winding down, now it looks like NATO is getting ready to get even more involved. Trump said some interesting statements recently about the possibility of Zelensky winning back all of the territory he lost. And I know that, in some recent attacks, Russian drones have violated the airspace in Poland and other NATO countries. So I think that they may be getting ready to get further involved with what's going on in Ukraine. I think that is a large possibility here. But there's other possibilities as well, and we'll get into some of those possibilities later in this video. Right now, I want to dive into this information and find out just a tidbit more about what's going on here. Before I dive into this info, though, if you're here, if you like the videos, if you support the channel, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you share the video, make sure you drop a comment, and if you want to donate, you can donate via Cash App or Super Thanks. Always so greatly appreciated. I can't express that enough. But let's go ahead and find out a little bit more. Hegseth stirs speculation with mystery meeting of military leaders. Pete Hegseth's last-minute call for hundreds of generals and admirals to travel to a Virginia base has current and former defense officials scratching their heads as to what would warrant such a major in-person gathering. The order to attend a Tuesday meeting at Marine Corps University in Quantico, Virginia, reportedly to hear Hegseth give a short speech on military standards and warrior ethos was sent this past week to all officers with the rank of 1-star general or rear admiral and above, as well as their senior enlisted leaders. The highly unusual gathering, not seen before in recent memory in terms of its size and last-minute nature, has created more questions than answers as to what would warrant what some former military officials have labeled an extremely bizarre confab. We're way out in terms of unusual, and this one, retired Army Lieutenant General Mark Hartling, a former commanding general of U.S. Army Europe, said Friday. Active duty colleagues don't know what this is about, he added. So it could be about shifting a national security strategy. It could be cuts to the General Office Corps. Secretary Hegseth has mentioned that several times. It could be about the upcoming budget stalemate. Or it could be concerns over information leaks or press leaks. The Pentagon confirmed Thursday that Hegseth will be addressing his senior military leaders early next week, but offered no additional details as to what the meeting was about. The directive was reportedly sent to virtually all of the military's top commanders worldwide, including every single senior officer with the rank of brigadier general or above, their Navy equivalent, and their top enlisted advisors. More than 800 generals or admirals. The military leaders would come from conflict zones in the Middle East and Africa, and others from the European and Indo-Pacific theaters, leaving their stations without its top officer. It was reported Friday that the meeting is meant to be an eyeball-to-eyeball kind of conversation between Hegseth and his top officers, citing one person familiar with ongoing discussions. But such a large in-person convergence of top military brass has never taken place in the history of the U.S. military. Certainly during wartime, generals commanding in a theater are brought in individually with their team, or the president or the secretary of defense visits them at their theater operation, but I've never seen anything like this before, and it just seems extremely bizarre and strange. It is very rare to call for such a large meeting of top officers in person in one location and to demand such a gathering so quickly with a smaller assembly, typically taking months to plan. While meetings of top military officials are not unusual, the sheer number of combatant commanders for this upcoming meeting has raised eyebrows, as has the limited information as to why the meeting is taking place. What's more, military leaders have long relied on secure communications to meet remotely without leaving their bases, including during times of conflict. Hegseth's directive and its lack of public explanation have even alarmed some outside groups, including Democracy Forward Foundation, a nonprofit organization in Washington, D.C., that works to expose government corruption. On Friday, the group filed a Freedom of Information Act request seeking records on the purpose of the meeting and any security assessments of the risk of so many top military leaders leaving their stations to gather in one place. And you see, folks, that's one of the main things that concerns me about all of this, is you're taking all of our military leaders, all of them, and you're having them all meet in one location. What could go wrong? I'm sure that this will be a very secure event. I know that it's going to happen at a very secure location, but it's still worrisome. In today's day and age, with everything that's going on, with what we've seen some of these intelligence agencies do in other countries, it's worrisome when you gather every single military top official in one place at one time. They're all going to be in the same city, in the same location at one time. And I'm hoping that nothing crazy happens. But if our enemies wanted to do something crazy, I guess that would be the place, right? But look, I'm not buying that, oh, this is about budget cuts. Maybe this is about layoffs. Maybe this is about this. No. You're not calling together this meeting to discuss budget cuts and lame stuff like that. They're calling this meeting to get ready for war. What war? Against who? Who freaking knows anymore? But that's what's happening. They're getting prepared for what I believe is the inevitable. And I have a hard time trying to see it any other way. Now, I know Hegseth probably wants to meet some of these military officials face to face. And like I explained at the beginning of this video, there are people freaking out about this meeting for the wrong reasons. Most people are freaking out about the meeting just because they hate Trump and they hate Trump's administration. That's not where I'm coming from with this, and you guys should know that by now. I'm kind of freaking out because what does this mean? Because I don't believe they're meeting for no reason. I think it's a good idea to get on the same page. I think it's a good idea to look eye to eye, not have these conversations over the phone all the time. So I'm not like, oh my God, this is disgusting. How dare you call this meeting? But at the same time, I'm not like, oh yeah, this is just budget cuts. This is just standard. This is just normal. Like J.D. Vance and stuff, they were trying to say, this is just normal. No, it's not. No, it's not. As someone with a little bit of knowledge about military history, I'm no expert, but someone with a tidbit of knowledge, I can tell you that things like this don't happen often, if ever. In fact, I think this is the first time in American history that we've seen a meeting on this level where, so many, leading military officials are all coming together in one place. Like I said, this didn't even happen during World War II. World War II, yeah, they may have some big meetings. All right, we're going to take this top general that's over here dealing with Japan. We're going to bring him in. We're going to have a meeting. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about what's going on. But you don't just take every top general and everyone from their stations and bring them all into one location for one big meeting all together. So this makes me feel like they really want everyone to be on the same page moving forward. And this makes me feel like this is much bigger than just like a one-off minor conflict. Like, let's say that this meeting was happening in order to prepare for issues with China, right? If that were the case, they would probably just take the top generals and military officials that are overseeing that theater, that's what they call it, that theater, the Indo-Pacific and stuff. They would just take those generals with, that are overseeing conflicts with China, that are in charge of overseeing that. They would just meet with those generals. If this was a problem with what's happening in Venezuela, they would just meet with the generals who are in charge of overseeing that portion of the world, right? But no, they're bringing in everyone from every corner of the world, which makes you believe that this could be, them preparing for a very large, wide-scale world war type of conflict. And of course, I have to mention this. I do not think this is the case at all. I don't think this is the case at all. Let me say that again. I do not believe this is the case at all for the people in the back who don't understand. I don't think this is the case, but people are also floating out there the fact that we're supposedly supposed to get invaded by aliens in like a month. I know that sounds crazy, but some of the top scientists here in America claim that this 3-eye atlas interstellar object that some people say is a comet, others say it's an alien spaceship, they claim that aliens are coming in November or really at like the end of October. I don't think that's happening. I've already made several videos about this, but it's interesting that here we are a few weeks away from that happening, and now there's this emergency meeting where every military official from around the world has to come together, and some people are floating out the idea that, hey, maybe they're having a meeting because of the alien invasion. I don't think that's the case. I think that's very, very unlikely, but that shows you how crazy today's world is, to where it's no longer like crazy whacked out to have that conversation. It's no longer like really far out there to float that possibility, because Congress was just meeting about this interstellar object a couple of weeks ago. Congress just had a meeting about how they tried to shoot a UFO out the sky and their missile had no effect on it. So yeah, there's a lot of conversations going on within our government about aliens and UFOs. And here we are, a few weeks away from the supposed alien invasion, and now we have the biggest military gathering in world history. So it's just all weird. It's all weird for sure. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it has more so to do with what's going on with Russia and China. But maybe we'll never know. Maybe we'll find out in a few days. We'll just have to wait and see. For now, though, you guys let me know what you think about all of this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.